Good afternoon, everyone. We are just going to take a few minutes to let all of you in the audience enter this episode, but welcome to Sustainable in the City. Cheers to sustainable beverages.
Welcome, everyone. We have some fun announcements for you today. We have a great program, a nice sunny, cloudy day. Talking about beverages. It's going to be a good time.
I have some iced tea here in honor of talking about sustainable beverages. It is, there is nothing spiked in this iced tea. We are just talking iced tea, but Mark will share with us a bit about spirits. Christina and I don't get to join in, but
no.
That's okay.
Later. Yes, I have water, so.
Well, that's not a very fun beverage,
Christina. No, it's not. I didn't even think to have a fun beverage on with me. That was a terrible, terrible decision.
Do you have coffee this morning?
I did have coffee this morning. Rainforest Alliance, all the good stuff. Shade grown.
Love it. I know. Unfortunately, we won't be talking coffee this episode, but that could be a whole nother episode.
Exactly. Well, we will still let folks join in. It looks like people are slowly rolling in on their lunch break to learn about sustainable beverages. So do you want to get started and let folks know what they're in for today?
Sounds good. Well, again, welcome to today's episode. We are very excited to, we have hopefully two guests coming. One is still getting set up in her office, but we will be talking sustainable beverages with Mark Valencia, environmental scientist at Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, or TDEC, who manages the Sustainable Spirits program for TDEC, and Rhonda Cammon, founder and CEO of Perfectly Cordial, and a recent alumni of Vanderbilt's Climate Innovation Accelerator program. And as a reminder, Sustainable in the City is a partnership between my organization, Zero Waste Nashville, and Christina's organization, Urban Green Lab. My name is Allie Omens, and I'm the Zero Waste Program Coordinator for Metro Nashville Waste Services, the Zero Waste team. And I'm here with Christina. Christina, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yes, of course. Hello, everyone. My name is Christina Langoni, and I am the Assistant Director of Classrooms here at Urban Green Lab. And I have been your just absolutely humbled and excited host, I think, for you all for a couple of years now. Started off with Jen. If we have some OG Sustainable in the City attendees here today, you'll remember Jen Harmon, our dear friend over at Zero Waste Nashville. And I am actually passing the torch on to our dear, wonderful new Sustainable Households manager. We have Carissa Hampton here today, who is a fantastic addition to the Urban Green Lab team. She is coming from MNPS as an educator. She has her own children's book because she loves sustainability so much and wants to share that with kiddos. So she really knows about sustainability and how to reach folks and talk about it in a household setting, and that is just absolutely perfect for our Sustainable in the City attendees. And so she is going to be taking over the role as host with Allie. So welcome, Carissa. We are so excited to have you, and just want to give you a second to say hello to your new family here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here and just bringing, sustainable solutions to households is something that Urban Green Lab has dreamed about for a while. So I'm super excited to be, piloting that this year.
And we are very lucky to have Carissa on board for many reasons, but I think she's going to really bring something special to the Sustainable in the City live stream with Allie. And really, I think you all are in for something really exciting for the year to come. So welcome, Carissa. Carissa will be actually in the chat and the Q&A today. So she'll be taking over part of the episode, and we are just so grateful for her to be joining us today as we slowly onboard her into taking over the hosting abilities. And I won't be going anywhere for Urban Green Lab. I will just be moving to an audience member. So really, really excited about that. And just want to say a reminder of how to use the chat and the Q&A feature. So as always, we are only using the Q&A feature for questions. So if you have questions for our guests today, please make sure you put that in the Q&A feature, and Carissa will be reading off those questions at the end of the episode. If you put them in the chat, we cannot guarantee that they will be asked. So please just put them in the Q&A so that we can make sure that you get your questions asked. And if you want to use the chat, that is just to share your own resources, give encouragement to our guests, say what you're enjoying, and connect with the other attendees as we're going through the episode. So the chat is to connect, the Q&A is to make sure that you're getting your questions answered. And to make sure that you know how to use the chat, as always, please set that to everyone. Set that to everyone. And if you would like to, please let us know, what is your favorite summer beverage? We're in the middle of summer. We're talking about sustainable beverages. Let us know, what's your favorite thing to be sipping on a summer day or evening? And also, please don't forget that every episode will be recorded and sent out in our follow-up email. So you'll be getting all of the resources that our guests shared today. And you will also be getting the recording, which is on our YouTube channel. So we are so excited for you to be here, and Allie is going to take us into some sustainable happenings and then get us into the episode.
Thanks, Christina, and would love to hear from folks in the chat what your favorite summer beverage is. As I mentioned at the top of the episode, I am sipping on some iced tea today. It is my favorite summer beverage, and honestly, I could get away with drinking iced tea in the winter. Who's going to stop me, right? So let's see. Anyone want to throw out what favorite Coke and Malibu from Simone? Great. Maypop, very nice. Hazy IPA, good choice, Christina. Great. We'll keep those coming in as a primer for all the great content that we'll have a little coming up very shortly with Mark and Rhonda. And before we get too much farther in, as Christina mentioned, we're going to go through some sustainable happenings. So starting us off, we have a Recycle Right webinar happening next week, Wednesday, from 12 to 1 to learn your best practices for engaging with recycling in Nashville. So you can register for that webinar on nashville.gov and at the link provided in the chat. I'm going to turn it over to Carissa to talk through this opportunity with Urban Green Lab coming up.
Yeah, so we have a really exciting opportunity this year to sign up for Urban Green Lab volunteers, or UGL volunteers, where you are going to be trained to teach others how to live sustainably. And so right now we have 2 orientation dates, the first one coming up July 22nd, and orientation, or you can find orientation on our website.
Thanks, Carissa. Moving right along, we have a community cleanup opportunity with Recycle and Reinvest, a former Sustainable in the City guest from maybe last season, I want to say, Christina. But Recycle and Reinvest does a lot of community cleanup work. One of the events coming up is on July 30th, a community cleanup where you can volunteer either as an individual or as a group to go provide help in beautification efforts for a neighborhood in Southeast Nashville, I believe. So you can learn more at their website. And then want to give a plug to vote. So you may think that, well, this isn't a sustainability happening, but actually it is, because voting is one of those great opportunities that we have to exercise our voice and our priorities that we see for Nashville and generally for our communities. So early voting for the August 3rd election starts this Friday. It's hard to believe that it's already here, but just as a reminder, this August 3rd election includes Tennessee House District 51, Tennessee House District 52, the election for mayor, vice mayor, council at large seats, and council district seats. So there's a lot happening. Do be sure to check out the sustainability priorities of any and all of these candidates and make your informed decision. And you can find early voting times and locations at nashville.gov. And then a very small, very exciting plug from my organization. There is a food scraps pickup pilot program starting later this summer, early fall, where 750 households will have the opportunity to divert food waste and other compostable materials at the curb for 1 full year for free. So this is a really exciting opportunity. We are so excited as Metro Waste Services to be offering this program because, of course, food waste is a major contributor to greenhouse gases in our atmosphere and just other negative impacts on our environment. So keep a lookout for the application to open on that coming soon, just a very slight teaser, but we will be sending the application out through the Sustainable in the City listserv that we have. So if you registered for this episode or a former episode, you'll get that notification. And with that, I will turn it over to our guests, or actually I'll start by kind of introducing our guests, and one guest in particular, Rhonda, who joined us a few minutes after Mark. So thank you so much for being here. Didn't get the chance to thank you at the top of the episode, but Mark, we'll get things started with you and just asking about, first and foremost, asking you to introduce yourself to our audience and share with them a little bit about your sustainability journey.
Sure, thank you. Once again, thank you all for having me. I'm Mark Valencia. I'm with the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation Office of Sustainable Practices. So our group is an organization that likes to work with any individual organization who wants to go above and beyond environmental compliance and regulatory compliance. I kind of got in, I've been with the state about 6 years now. Sustainability started early on in my career. So before this, I worked for a Native American tribe in California, and the majority of my work was environmental work, regulatory compliance for a tribe. And the focus with most tribes that I've worked with in the past is sustainability. It may not be the term sustainability. Sustainability is an all-encompassing act for most Native American tribes. So I got really into it from there. This position opened up. I moved out to Tennessee, so I took a job with TDEC, and I've been with the Office of Sustainable Practices ever since. So the big chunk of my career has been sustainability, and I enjoy it.
Thanks so much. And we can get going with your slides, Mark, if you want to share with us a bit about the Tennessee Sustainable Spirits program, as that specifically relates to our, of course, TDEC does so much work, but this program in particular was very on brand with our episode theme. So go ahead.
Yeah, awesome. I'm glad that we found another opportunity to share with what we do within TDEC and with the Sustainable Spirits program. So once again, I'm with Sustainable Practices and within TDEC. Sustainable Practices is broke down into 3 different key areas of focus within our office. So we have a business team, community team, and state government institutions. So business, usually we're working with private, small, large, middle-sized organizations who are in the private sector. Community, so that's anything from education to nonprofits, communities, organizations like that. And state, institution, and government, that's when we're working with improving sustainable practices within state government. So it's more of the back of house stuff. We don't share too much of that. Mainly it's because we're just trying to improve sustainability within our offices within state government. So these are just several examples of what we do within our organization. The Sustainable Spirits program was kind of born out of a program from the business team, which is the Green Star Partnership. So Green Star Partnership is a membership program for large organizations, manufacturers, so tire manufacturers, Bridgestone, GM, organizations like that. So we wanted to kind of develop a program similar to that for smaller organizations who kind of have a uniform process. So breweries, wineries, and distilleries kind of do a lot of the similar practices in terms of resource allocation and development of products. So that's kind of where Sustainable Spirits came from. Tennessee Sustainable Spirits is just a voluntary program to assist wineries, wine growers, brewers, and distilleries in increasing sustainability by promoting best practices, providing technical assistance, and developing relationships. So we're going to get a little more in-depth into exactly what Sustainable Spirits is. Benefits to becoming a member. Each organization who is a member, they get free use of that beautiful logo we developed on the right of the screen. They can use that on products. We give them a window cling so they can proudly display that in their tap rooms or storefronts. We have a website with an interactive map to show all the members of our program and some of the sustainable practices that they are doing. We also write articles on our members, and we like to share these articles through our website, through press releases. I know every year we do a press release of our new members, and that usually gets statewide recognition and sometimes national recognition. A few years ago, we did the press release for our new members, and the Weather Channel picked up on it. So they did a quick little 5-minute segment on this Tennessee Sustainable Spirits and some of our members. You also get technical assistance, so I'll go more in depth on that later, but we develop a sustainability report with recommendations, and we can provide some of that legwork on any of the recommendations we provide. New member recognition, so that's what we talked about with the press release, and then we have a large group of resources on our webpage for whether you're just a citizen looking for a sustainable producer and what to look for in a sustainable producer. We have resources for home brewers, and we also have resources for spirits producers. Here's some of the unique branding products we give out to our members. So if you look on the bottom left, that is a bottle hanger. So that particular product you can hang on the neck of a bottle, whether it's a beer bottle, whiskey bottle, wine bottle. The unique thing about those bottle hangers, it's actually printed on compostable seed papers. So the paper is actually embedded with native wildflower seeds. So when you're done with that particular product, you can actually put it in your garden, and it turns into a new I'm not going to say product, but a new resource. So you provide, usually herbs or flowers. In the middle is the window cling that we discussed earlier. And then the bottom right is a really cool product. It's a coaster made out of recycled tire rubber. So within the Office of Sustainable Practices, we also provide grant money for organizations who develop new products or do research and development of new products using recycled tires. So it's a way that we're going across the line of what we do within sustainable practices and sharing some of the cool products you can make. So to become a member, there's a checklist that they have to go through. So each member will have to go over a checklist, and it ranges from water conservation, air, water pollution, waste reduction, and community involvement. So when we go through the checklist, those are the big topics that will be covered within the checklist, and requirements. We're going to go a little more in depth in the next slide. So to become a member, you got to submit an application, just basic information on who you are, where you are, what y'all are doing. Submit utility data and production data. So that's very important because we take the utility data and this production data, we can normalize that data and create a ratio. So we could just show an individual, it takes you 5 gallons of water to produce a gallon of beer, or this many kilowatt hours to produce a gallon of beer. And this is a way to actually show an individual what it takes to create their product. It's a way for them to look at their overhead, but on our side within the state, it's a way to look at resources that are being consumed within the state. Additionally, we can take that data and compare it to national and international averages that were developed by other organizations. So we can show them where they stand amongst their peers and organizations similar to their size. So they can establish a really good baseline of what they're doing and see if they fall in line with their counterparts, or if there's need for improvement, or if they're doing better than most. So once they submit all that data, they also have to submit a checklist. The checklist has 49 elements on it, and it covers water, air, like I said earlier, community involvement. Of the 49, they have to meet a minimum of 25 items on that checklist. So there has to be at least 25 items checked off on that checklist in order to become a member of the program. Once we get all that data, the checklist, the application, we'll review all that information and ensure it's where we need to be to move forward with the next steps. So we'll review that data, we'll review the checklist, we'll do an internal compliance check. So we want to make sure individuals who become members of our programs aren't in any regulatory compliance issues within TDEC. And if they are, they can't currently become a member, but we can help them. We'll let them know they can't become a member, but once they're back into compliance, they can become a member. And on top of that, we can get them the information they need to get back into compliance. So we can get them into contact with anyone they need to be in contact with, whether it's Division of Water Resources, Solid Waste Management, or if they need some confidential technical assistance. So within the Office of Sustainable Practices, we have the Small Business Environmental Assistance Program, and that organization provides free confidential technical assistance for any small business within the state of Tennessee. So it's a way for organizations to make sure they're in compliance or work to become in compliance without getting snitched on. I think a big thing that I have to share with our members is I'm not in the business of telling anyone what to do or snitching them out. We want to make sure we're working with organizations who want to go above and beyond regulatory compliance. And if they're having those issues, we can get them that free confidential technical assistance within our office. Once all that information goes through, they pass that background check, we'll do an on-site visit. And this is not a very intense visit, I would say. We usually just go through the checklist. We'll have a sit down. We'll discuss all the items they have checked off on their checklist, and then we'll walk through their facility to verify some of those items. And most of the times we find additional checks that they can check off on their checklist. So I think it's usually beneficial for the organization to do the walkthrough. During this walkthrough, I'm also identifying areas of opportunity. So this is where I'll take all this information and develop a sustainability report. In that report, we'll show them what they're doing currently, what's going on with their checklist. We'll show them their data. We'll show where they, we'll establish that baseline for them. In addition to that, we'll also provide recommendations. And once again, these are just recommendations. They don't have to do anything with them if they don't want to, but if they ever want to pursue some of the recommendations, we provide details on other organizations that are doing it, and we can also do some of that legwork for them. We can do the initial technical assistance on helping them figure out what is involved to pursue any of the recommendations we make. That's in the sustainability report we send them along with their acceptance letter. So that's kind of the program in a nutshell on how to become a member. So there's 4 pages to the checklist. If you look, here's just the 2, but you can see what we cover. So, we cover water, air, waste, materials management, things like that. Energy, sourcing of ingredients and sourcing of products. So we want to try to create an opportunity to source as much local ingredients and packaging materials as they can. We understand that not everything can be produced within the state. But we want to make sure we can get some of that recognition. So say a winery wants to make a wine, there's only several varieties of grapes that can be grown within the state. So we understand that some of these other varieties may not be within the state. But packaging materials, if we can't find a package manufacturer within our state, if they're within 500 miles of their location, they can still get that checkpoint because they're doing what they can to try to get products as close as possible. Community involvement, so that's anything from community gardens, providing a venue for any community organization who just needs a meeting space. If you're able to provide that space, just providing a safe space for community organizations to meet. Charitable contributions. We also do a lot of pick up for a pint program. So this is where an organization works within their community to help clean it up. So, it's picking up trash or stream cleanups, things like that. And then we go over maintenance. So just if you have a properly maintained piece of equipment, it's going to run more efficient. You're not going to use as much resources to run that particular piece of equipment. So if you see, there's just a variety of elements that we cover when it comes to sustainability within these organizations. Some steps moving forward, we're just looking to get new members. So if there's any producers on here or know of any producers that might be a great fit, I'd love to hear, I'd love to talk to them. We're always looking for additional feedback. So if anyone has recommendations, I'm all ears. I want to make this program as inclusive and effective for our members. We're always looking for additional resources. So if you got some great resources, I'd love to see them. And we're currently developing value stream mapping. So this is way more intense, and it's something that we can't really discuss in detail, but what it is you just look at each process of the production of a product and identify the resources that are being consumed and exactly how much resources are being consumed in each process. That's a way where you can determine which areas would be most beneficial for improvement. So this is just a quick graphic of what I was talking about value stream mapping. So if you look on the left, there's delivery of grain, that grain moves to grain storage. So there's probably some kind of electric motor taking that grain and using an auger and moving it to that storage container. So that electric motor, we know the information on it just by looking at, a detailed information on the electric motor. There's usually a little placard on it telling you all the details you need to know about that motor. So if we know that and we know how long it takes to empty that truck, into the silo, then you have a really good understanding of how much electricity it actually took for that one process. So we will look at that throughout the brewing process, winemaking process, distilling process. That's something we're trying to move forward with and give a more added benefit to our members. That's pretty much more or less my quick little review of our program and what we do.
Thank you so much, Mark. And we have a few interview questions for you, or actually, it's not so formal, but a few Q&A questions for you that we'll get to in just a little bit. Want to dig more into the program. But first, Rhonda, I'll turn it over to you. And if you could introduce yourself to our audience and share your sustainability journey.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rhonda Cammon. I'm the owner and founder of Perfectly Cordial. We're an all-natural fruit-first beverage mixer located right here in Nashville, Tennessee. We empower anyone to make a better crafted mocktail or cocktail with ease. We try to source a lot of our stuff locally from local farmers and local producers. And my sustainability journey has been very interesting. I like to say, I didn't find sustainability, sustainability found me. During the journey and trying to support other small makers and other local farmers, it really just became necessary to become sustainable. As we got temperature change and climate change and warming, we all know, if you haven't, turn on the news, look at Google, that California, the East Coast, we're all dealing with fluctuating prices related to goods. And so that was starting to trickle inward in Nashville. And so to have a sustainable business, I had to find some sustainability within the business. And so that's why I say sustainability found me. I was very fortunate enough this year to do 2 programs. So one with Vanderbilt University and their sustainability, they had a sustainability pilot. We went through that as a company and really just opened my eyes. And at the same time, I was doing another program with PepsiCo Frito-Lay, who also is really big in their sustainability efforts also. Because of that and through that, we've been able to decrease the cost of goods for Perfectly Cordial and decrease them by 75%. Not only that, we've been able to stay true to our mantra and to our vision of supporting small and BIPOC farmers and makers. And then we also have a more sustainable life for our company through sustainability. So that's why I say sustainability found me. I wasn't really looking for sustainability, but here we are, happy in a relationship together.
That's great. And I really appreciated what you mentioned, saying that it was necessary to become sustainable. I think that's something we're seeing across all different industries, that it gets to be a point of not becoming a choice. These are realities that we're facing with regard to climate change and other impacts that we're seeing in our natural environment. And you mentioned, or I think Mark was the one who actually mentioned sourcing local ingredients. And I know in the Vanderbilt program that you did, that was something that you were working with students on, is to determine some local options for sourcing your ingredients. Can you speak to that Vanderbilt program a little bit, your experience with those students and how that went for you?
Yeah, it was a very, very, very amazing program, which we're kind of still doing, and we're in the process. It's a continued journey, like Bilbo Baggins. So that program, we came in, I had no expectations, but I learned a lot about sustainability and strategy mapping. That was really, really big. We had 4 students. My team had 4 students. Those 4 students ranged from, we had sophomores, juniors, and seniors that were graduating. They all had a lot of varying backgrounds, but they had a passion for sustainability. It was a multi-week program. And through that program, we also had a Vanderbilt educator or teacher, like mentor. And then we had someone from the outside who was an entrepreneur working in the sustainability sector. We came together as like this think tank. Imagine a sustainability think tank that you didn't know you needed. And here you go. Here's the Wondery, doing all the things, right? And now all of a sudden you have this A-team think tank, and it's all around sustainability. So through that, we were able to develop a pilot program that we're currently in the process of implementing, using citrus husk, our spent citrus peels, to replace the citrus that you now will taste in Perfectly Cordial. A lot of our products are based in, because we're all natural and we're preservative free at that time. And so a lot of our products were based in citrus juice, your lemons, your limes, maybe a grapefruit, right? And I don't think that people understand, especially when it comes to beverages and natural beverages, how dependent the makers are on lemons and limes. They're really powerful, mighty but powerful. And then a lot for a Perfectly Cordial, we were sourcing a lot of these from either Florida that were also being supplemented by imports from Mexico or South America. And then we were also getting some from California, right? Way across the US. And so the students were able to gather information on native agricultural products that had the same flavor and chemical makeup as lemons and limes. And we were also able to look at some outside of the box things, because my background is in healthcare and in bartending, right? Hospitality. So we're able to look outside in the actual entrepreneur, our entrepreneur mentor was like, have you heard of this? And I was like, you know what? I have. It's been going around the bar scene for a while. And so we were able to do a test trial on that. We actually ran a couple of trials, the students did. We collected the data. We actually sampled it to a population, and it was delicious. So not only were we able to advance our sustainability initiative, but we were able to, like I said, cut our cost of goods. We were able to actually take something that would probably end up in the compost pile and actually give it a second life. And then we're able also to stay true to supporting local makers, small farmers, and the BIPOC population.
That is fantastic, and such a great story of collaboration and resource sharing, and great that those students got to have that experience as well. It sounds like I know the Wondery does a lot of great work getting students out into the community, out into the Nashville community, to really engage with these problems and solutions in a very real way that's very much appreciated. So
yeah.
Yeah. And Mark, if I could bring you back here, I do want to talk about both with the Vanderbilt Climate Innovation Accelerator and the Tennessee Sustainable Spirits programs. These are both community programs and resource sharing programs. And I'm wondering why you both think it's important that we have these community-based and community support programs to encourage private industry or any industry to do better on sustainability.
I guess I'll jump in first. It's, community, I think, goes hand in hand with sustainability, particularly, with improving, making a more circular economy and circular community or group. So the Sustainable Spirits program, community was important, not only because you're in a community, these businesses are within a community, and you want to be a good steward of the environment, and I want to say lead the way, but be a good example to the community on what you can do, sustainably speaking. I think being part of a community involves that, more or less, improving sustainability and cleaning up your environment. I think, most of these organizations, they are mostly community-based organizations. Not saying they're community ran, but these breweries, wineries, and distilleries are providing their products and services to their community in particular. Most of the organizations I work with are pretty small, and the majority of their sales are going within that community. So being proactive in your community and supporting sustainability, I think goes hand in hand with just their business operations.
I'm going to kind of second that and expand on it a little bit. We noticed, one of the big things that I noticed during COVID is that when the world shut down, things became very internal, right? And it became very circular. And then you had to find sustainability within that small community. And it was during COVID and during this kind of like, you got to get it done. We got to find some out of the box ways to make things happen, that all of these new innovative ideas were birthed. Things change, rules and regulations. We got some new rules on the docket. Regulations kind of like, well, maybe we weren't right. Things change from that small community. And that's usually how a lot of things start, bro. Small greatness starts right there in this small area. It's a small room, it's a small town, it's a small city, but it's there and it's proof of concept. It's like, oh, this works, and then expands to the masses. And that's how a lot of things start. And that's why sustainability within the community has to be a constant. I know I sound real passionate right now, but it wasn't until COVID, when we were all locked down and couldn't figure out how we're going to get toilet paper, that we got really creative. Really creative, dude. And so that has to stay. It can't go. And if you take sustainability out of the community, then you're stifling it. You're taking the air out of the room, and the fire will probably dwindle or die away. And we know for a fact that we can't let sustainability die or take a back seat or a back burner, because we don't have time. Time is not of the essence.
Those are both fantastic sentiments and really speak to the importance of community and community support. And Rhonda, you brought up COVID, and absolutely, I think it's important to remember how much we rely upon one another. And when the world shuts down, you really realize, or at least, the sentiment that I believe that at least the three of us share, and hopefully many more in this virtual room share, is that we really need each other. We can't go it alone. And I think both of your programs, or both of the programs that you are involved in, really speak to that very directly. And Rhonda, another question for you, thinking about community and community support. You mentioned the work that Perfectly Cordial does, supporting BIPOC-owned businesses in Nashville, or maybe you said that in relation to the Vanderbilt program. But could you speak a little more to that engagement, and then specifically why is it important for us to support BIPOC-owned, women-owned businesses in Nashville, whether it's related to sustainable beverages or just generally?
It's a great question. And yes, I'm really a staunch advocate of supporting BIPOC with a focus on Black, female, minority businesses. There are very few of us. We're not many. And one of the reasons why is because women as a whole get less than 3% of any business or VC funding. So it's really hard for Black female businesses to scale to a successful level. It's through, because of that lack of funding, we have to be circular, and we have to be intentional on reinvesting within that category of business, i.e. Black, female, or minority. And the other thing is also for farmers. I don't know if a lot of people know, but there is an alarming rate of Black farmers losing their land due to legalities and small legal loopholes. And so one of the things that I'm very passionate about is reinvesting and supporting the Black farmer or the minority farmer, right? I'm originally from Florida. I'm going to say a name. Like my mom, and my mom is from Immokalee, Florida. No one knows where Immokalee, Florida is, right? I know. But it's a big migrant town. And it's pretty much where a lot of your tomatoes and watermelons come they come from Florida. So a lot of those migrants, which are still part of the BIPOC community, They've been working this land forever, and they're losing that land due to small loopholes, or not being able to actually get the money back in. They're having to sell produce at a cheaper rate, and things of that nature, and the overhead. So that's some of the reasons why it's very important for me to support minority women and also people of color.
Thank you for sharing that. And admittedly, I do not know where that is in Florida, but thank you for sharing. And that's interesting to hear that that you said tomatoes and watermelons are the primary kind of.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. If you go and if you get a tomato or a watermelon in Florida, 9 times out of 10, it came from Immokalee. And then it's Lee County, right between Naples and Naples. You know what? It's the native land of the Miccosukee Indians. And now not only are we seeing more people of color, but we're seeing more immigrants, dude. We're seeing, especially in Florida, a lot of your Hispanics and your Haitian people are the people over there tilling the ground, picking the fruit, doing the labor. And so they need, we all want to have fair wages. Well, how are they going to get that if we don't continue to support those small farms?
And really good to also connect back to beverages related to food, because as you mentioned earlier, the input to some of your mixture is citrus, and that's a food. And we often think about sustainability in food, and I don't know, I think our beverages can sometimes get left behind in that conversation around consumption and sustainability. So I would love to hear from the both of you kind of your perspectives on sustainability in the beverage industry as it relates to sustainability when we think about food, and generally how we interact with the things that we consume, like our food and drinks.
Okay, so I feel very passionate about that, being in the beverage industry. Our distribution system needs to catch up with sustainability. Pricing and distribution is very archaic and does not take sustainability into play or into thought. However, there are some mavericks out there doing some great things on the sustainability front. Perfectly Cordial for one, but just the other day, somebody in the chat talked about Maypop. Dude, I had my first Maypop hop water using hop grains, and they're producing it right here locally in Nashville. And I believe they're producing it in a female-owned brew house. Like, talk about 360. There's been some strides, especially on the West Coast, as far as sustainability, beverage, and digestion or body health. I just see it's a very slow trickle moving it inward to states like Tennessee. But I'm sure Mark is going to help us lead the course, right, Mark?
Absolutely. Well, I like to say, between food and beverages, I think they go hand in hand. The 3 primary ingredients in all 3 of the products, beer, wine, and distilled spirits, is water. The second primary ingredient for each one has a food aspect to it. So barley, grapes, and usually corn for distilled spirits. So they're already in the food consumption circle. I think, trying to emphasize, we've been great on the food side of things, but, the production of beverages are, if not just as energy intensive. There's a lot of resources being consumed to make these products. And to bridge that gap between food and beverage, I think is quite important. I think we're doing a lot of that on the state side. So I don't know if a lot of you know this, but we have the Food Waste Awareness Program within Get Food Smart. TN is a program that we see within TDEC. Every year we have Food Waste Awareness Week. So this is where we partner with organizations throughout the state, where we show how to reduce food waste. And that also goes with beverages. So we also usually partner up with a Sustainable Spirit member or breweries throughout the state to make a beer using, bread that normally would get discarded. So bread that may be a day old or stale, it's still consumable, but it's not great in the way it is in being stale or older. It's still consumable, so people can turn this into a new beverage. So we're partnering with breweries to use more food sources that normally be discarded or go out of the circle of human consumption. So this bread may go to compost, it may go to animal feed, but to try to keep these products within the human consumption circle, it's another way of being able to reuse some of those food products that may have gotten discarded or thrown out. So I think it's a important topic for us within TDEC, and we're definitely working with a lot of organizations to help bridge that gap between food and beverage.
That's fantastic. And was it Jackalope Brewery that did, or brewing that did that beer, they're the bread beer this year?
Yeah, we call it bread to tap.
Bread to tap, thank you.
We might move away from bread to tap next year, mainly because we also want to partner with farmers who have, like we said, fruits and vegetables that may be grown. And if they're ugly, it may not go on a store shelf. It may not be able to be used just because it's ugly. Just because it's ugly doesn't mean it's not consumable. It doesn't taste great. So brewers, a lot of brewers, they're already doing that. They may not think that they're trying to reduce food waste, but a lot of brewers partner with local farmers to use some of that ugly fruits and vegetables to put into another beer. So I think it's another way to recognize and show that to the public, and develop best practices for breweries, wineries, and distilleries, so we can continue increasing the use of those products.
But also, Allie, I will also kind of like double back on what Mark said and what you brought up earlier about community. Because we have such a slow, archaic distribution center, I'm seeing this renaissance within communities where the customers and consumers who are concerned about sustainability are now asking for more sustainable products. They're supporting businesses, especially small businesses and small makers, that are using that have sustainability as a goal in one of their initiatives. I'm really, especially in Nashville. So it's almost as if we have these small pockets of food, beverage sustainability, and it's just going to spread outward, as everything does happen with sustainability. But it is happening. Consumers are asking for it, and they are demanding it, and they're supporting it. And that's really a big thing, a big, big step.
I just want to, reemphasize, we're talking about, food and bridging that gap. So locally, like Rhonda mentioned, locally sourced ingredients is very important. So quick shameless plug, at the beginning of August 1st, we will be having a webinar focusing on locally sourced ingredients for the spirits industry.
Thank you so much, Mark, and no shame at all in that plug. If either of you have resources to send out to the audience, either you can, Rhonda, if any come to mind for you, feel free to plug them now, and we'll include any of these in the follow-up email so people can continue to be involved with you in your programs.
Okay.
And in that vein, where can, and Rhonda, I guess this is more specifically for you, this first part of the question, but where can people continue to engage with you and your product, whether that be shopping in stores, or how can we find you out in the world, out in the Nashville community?
That's a great question, Allie. So happy you asked it. So like I said, sustainability found me. I didn't find sustainability. And that led me to opening up a maker-focused store in one city. And one city is a development or an area in Nashville which has sustainability at the top of one of their initiatives. And so I have a store. It's called One Shop Nashville on Instagram. We're located in one city. We're in a container. We're a container store. So it doesn't get any more sustainable than that, babe. And you can find not only all of Perfectly Cordial, but you can also find support other small makers. 75% of the makers there are female, 35% of them are Black, and about 90% of them are from Nashville, like literally small people doing things in small batch, very sustainable. So you can find us at One Shop. And then if you are not in the Nashville area, or you're not coming on one of those mini flights that come in every day, you can go to our website, perfectlycordial.com, and you can order there.
Thank you so much, Rhonda. And Mark, a slightly different question for you. Who are some distillers, brewers, wineries in and around the Nashville area who are Tennessee Sustainable Spirits certified? Is that what you'd call them? Yeah.
Certified members, whatever you like to call them. Nelson's Greenbrier Distillery. We have Jackalope Brewing, East Nashville Beer Works. I think those are the big organizations within our the Nashville proper area.
Great. Thank you. And one last question for the both of you, and then we'll turn it over to the audience. Hopefully you all have been submitting some questions for Mark and Rhonda. We'll get to those very shortly. But a fun question to end us off. What is your go-to sustainable drink? And Rhonda, you can say Perfectly Cordial if you have a more specific in your Perfectly Cordial line.
Right now, it is Perfectly Cordial, but I am drinking it with Maypop hop water. It is so good. I'm really big on balance and inclusivity, and so I'm big with mocktails as far as cocktails, especially for health and a really great drinking environment. So Perfectly Cordial, tropical sour. Right now, we source those spices from Sarah's Spice Shop here in Nashville. This is our first iteration using our used citrus, our reclaimed citrus. And then that Maypop hop water, dude, it is so good. It's so good. And you too can buy Maypop hop water at one shop.
All the love for Maypop. Mark, what about you?
Well, as a brewer, I'm going to have to say beer, but I will like to emphasize any beer that's made with local Tennessee grain, which is starting to come. So there's several great products out around the state that's using local Tennessee two-row. So there's some two-row and some Pilsner malt, light, not super heavy beer, light pale ale. I'm a West Coast boy, so West Coast IPAs. Anything with that Tennessee two-row, I'm all for it.
Love it. And did you say that you are a brewer too?
Yes, ma'am.
Ah, what a fun fact. We're only getting to it now toward the end of the episode. Well, that is so fun. All right, Christina, we want to turn it over to, or Carissa, who's taking us on with the Q&A today from Urban Green Lab?
So hi, yes, I am going to be taking over the Q&A today, which is exciting since it's my first time. Rhonda, you were cracking us up over here as you're just speaking so passionately about these topics. So I think the first question was for Mark. So we had an attendee that was super interested in the program and wanted to hear a little bit more about yearly budget for sustainable spirits.
The annual budget's a little different. It's a little confusing, mainly because the program is paid through the P2 program. So this is the pollution prevention grant that we get from the EPA. So the EPA kind of mandates what we can do with this particular grant. So the majority of this program is paid out of P2 funding, but that P2 funding also funds several different other programs within P2. So mainly we have the Sustainable Spirits Program, the Green Star Partnership, the Governor's Environmental Stewardship Awards. I think that might be in there. I'm not quite sure. The Pharmaceutical Take Back Program. So there's several different programs that are funded through the EPA P2 grant.
Gotcha. Okay. And another question that they had, have you considered how the company reuses or recycles their consumer packaging or containers as part of the sustainability measure?
So yes, in that checklist under, I believe, waste, there is a check that they can check off if they offer a packaging take back program. So whether that's PackTex for the can holders for beers and canned beverages, if they take back glass bottles or any of the packaging. So if there's a take back program, that is a check on their checklist.
Gotcha. And then this was more along for both of you guys. So is there a council like the Chamber of Commerce that is the Chamber of Sustainability? If not in Tennessee, is there such an organization outside of Tennessee that you guys might have heard about? So we'll address that first. Have you guys heard of any?
I haven't. I'm just very grateful to, well, okay, I take that back. There's also if you want to get B Corp certified, there's a lot of overlays between sustainability initiatives and being B Corp certified. There's some overlays, and I think isn't there a B Corp Nashville or B Corp Tennessee? They will literally hold your hand, and they will baby walk you through the steps and what's needed. Is there a governing body, or no. What was interesting was that even when I was doing the program through Pepsi Frito-Lay, they needed help. I was like, how does a multi-billion-dollar company, they're still fumbling through it. So just start local. And also there was a lot of overlap with becoming B Corp certified, a lot.
Yeah, within sustainability, manufacturers, they have ISO 14001 certification programs. For sustainable spirits in particular, so the program that we have within the state, there's several other states that are doing similar programs, mainly funded through P2 as well, that P2 grant that I mentioned earlier. I know there were talks early on about the states maybe combining and making a more simplified, or not even simplified, just a program that can go throughout the country of states that participate. I would love to see that. I would love to see this community grow, but that's still in the early stages. So outside of that, I don't know too much.
Gotcha. So yeah, I think that you further answered where the question was going. So they would just say it would be wonderful to see or to be able to support local companies like that. Maybe like pick Tennessee, they suggested. So not a question, but someone was asking or requesting a recipe book. Would you be interested in that, later along the road?
I would later on in the road. Right now I'm doing the Lord's work. So I'm over here trying to open it up a store and manufacture sustainably. So that's something that we're looking at for the holiday season, for a lot of our great customers, and rolling out a recipe book. But right now, between the store and manufacturing, we're still on this sustainability journey. So we're in the midst of still trying to discover how we can become even more zero waste as a company, and how we can reduce our carbon footprint more as a company, and how we can expand our support to more farmers in our area. So be on the lookout during the holidays. Mark, you got any beer recipes coming up?
Well, we actually did develop a bread beer recipe for any brewer that wanted to participate in the Bread to Tap event, but it's easily scalable, so I can scale it down to the homebrew level. So if there's any homebrewers out there who are interested in it, I could send it over to y'all.
Sounds great. And then this question was for both of y'all. Do you guys have any programs in Spanish to achieve Latin American community?
I don't. However, I will say this. I travel a lot outside of the US in regards to sustainability and what other countries and other areas are doing in regards to sustainability. I just recently came back from Bogota and Cartagena, and what they're doing is amazing. And so I would encourage you to look outside the US to see what is already happening in other Latin countries and what they're doing in regards to sustainability, and maybe bringing that back domestically, back into your community, so that we can try to implement it here. The same thing in Mexico. What they're doing with sustainability, zero waste. Who knew you could do so many things with one piece of corn? Who knew? But they're doing it. We're just kind of slow. So I would encourage you to look outside in other Latin countries, because they're doing it, and bring it back.
With the state, so the Tennessee Sustainable Spirits Program is open to any brewery, winery, or distillery within the states. So any of them are more than welcome to apply to the program. And if it's a Latin-owned organization, they're more than welcome to. As a state entity, we do provide translation services. So if there's any communication issues, we have translation services for that as well.
And also, Carissa, not sorry. I'm gonna be, you know, from my Latino brother, my Latino sister, whoever asked that question. The other thing about sustainability is that as minorities, we were already practicing sustainability because poverty made it so. And so when people were like, oh, what do you know, one thing like tempache, that's from scraps of pineapple. Like, we were already, as minorities, doing a lot of sustainability things and sustainability initiatives because poverty deemed it so. So it would be really interesting to look within also within the community to see what you're already doing and help those who don't know and show us what you're currently doing in your community. Because I can tell you how to cut a chicken in like 16 pieces, bro. Nothing is going to waste.
Right. Yeah, we definitely understand that here at Urban Green Lab, just really celebrating what we're already doing. You know, food waste isn't really that big of an issue when you can't afford to waste food.
I didn't have a dryer for my clothes until 22. We thought everybody had a clothesline. We didn't know. We thought everybody grew their own. I never bought a mango. Until I moved to Nashville. And I was like, what are we doing? We're buying mangoes? That was such a shocker for me. I was shook. I was like, plant a tree, bro. I didn't know. I did not know.
All right. Well, I think that is all for the questions. Any last minute questions coming through? If not, Allie?
Yeah, and we still have until 1:15 if there are more questions coming through, but want to thank everyone so much for their time. If you need to jump off right at 1, we're already 1:03, but maybe if you need to jump off right at 1, thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, maybe we won't have any more questions come through, but Mark and Rhonda, thank you so much for sharing your wealth of knowledge and laughing with us. And just it's very nice to see how I don't know, I really like in Sustainable in the City how guests are very like vulnerable with their passions, and it really shows that you all are like deeply passionate about these issues. So we just appreciate the work that you're doing out in the community, and I'll cheers to you with my iced tea if my virtual background will let me. Cheers to you and all the work you do.
Very much.
It's been a pleasure. It has been a true pleasure. And if we don't start putting sustainability at the forefront of everything that we do, we're going to pay for it in the long run.
She speaks the truth. Well, thank you all so much for joining Sustainable in the City. We will see you next month. I believe August 9th is our next episode date, and we will be talking about river-friendly farming practices. So get excited about that and have a great rest of your Wednesday.
Hi, everyone.
Bye, guys.